Every time I've run out of future, every time I've gotten to a place where I thought I had achieved what the goal was, I had to start asking a different question. So whatever that was, published a book. Okay, like, well, now what? Hit a certain revenue. Now what? Hit a certain fitness level. Now what? It always comes down to that question. But to your point, you do have to ask, what do you want? And I think that the hardest thing that I've ever had to face and square up to is that most of the things I said I wanted were not actually what I wanted. They were what I thought would get me to the place where I could then get what I wanted. It was like, I got to do this first. I got to get business here first, or I got to get my things in order before I can ever ask for that. So if you imagine a future where like you're really good at being present and you can just be where your feet are, some of that might involve the business growing, but I actually think that more of it's going to be, are you installing barriers around you so that you can be? Today, we get to talk about what it feels like when you run out of future. Marty and I are here in the studio to talk about this thing. It keeps coming up. It's come up with a couple of clients. It's come up with some of the groups that we've run. You know, this idea of running out of future, it sounds like a playful thing, but here's what I sense that it really is for people. It's like, I don't know what's next. That's the best way to say it. I don't know what's next. And running out of future doesn't feel that great. So today we're going to break it down, help you understand it, give you a couple things that you can tweak if you are in this place. But this place, let's just define this place first. I think, Marty, that the way I would define running out of future is almost like I've gotten to the place that I thought I would be at some point in my life. And now I'm not sure what's ahead of me. I'm not sure what the next level looks like. I don't know what's different. Shouldn't I be happy? Like, we kind of end up in this state of, well, aren't I as far as I could go? Or I know there's more, but I'm not sure what the more is. It's just a swirling, chaotic time.
Yeah, I would say there's just a lot of unknown.
Nice.
And you're almost like in between phases of, you know, one is over and you haven't quite yet defined what that unknown is or what that future is going to look like. And so it could be comfortable staying there because you'll just continue to do what you have been doing because it's worked.
Yeah. And it's playing small. I love what you said about like comfort zone. I think that's important. I've heard this described a couple ways. One, I've heard people say, I've hit a plateau. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I'm not growing as fast as I used to, or I don't feel like I'm on the same trajectory or pace. I've also heard
you're the gym guy. What does a plateau at the gym mean?
Like I can't seem to break through the ceiling, right? I feel like I'm stuck at a certain tier. I can't hit the next weight level in the gym, or I can't break through the wall. I can't get to the other side of the next tier of the workout or the next tier of performance. I've heard things like I'm stuck. I've heard things like I don't know what I want. I've heard those things. Those kind of all pack into this. But it's a familiar place for most entrepreneurs. And I actually think it's part of the larger cycle.
It's bigger than an entrepreneur thing.
That's fair. That's definitely fair. And because it's part of a cycle, like you can't dodge this phase. Even if you have been able to go a long time without experiencing this part, it's a really important phase. I do think that most entrepreneurs and creatives and ambitious individuals get here. And because it's so different as like a part of the cycle, it is incredibly like demoralizing and in a way like intoxicating, not in a good way either. Intoxicating, like I'm not sure what to do. And how do I get out of this? And it's like, you just want to skip ahead.
There's a bad intoxication. I didn't think that was possible.
There's like a frustration that happens in this phase. I actually think that most of our clients have experienced this at some point in our work together, because we're pushing them into this discomfort that is part of the cycle. You kind of need this every once in a while to reinvigorate what's going on.
Do you think that what makes it different for an entrepreneur versus someone? Because I do think it's across the board. I don't think it's limited to entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs eventually face the question earlier that a lot of people don't answer, which is, what do I want? So the entrepreneur finally gets what they want, and they get to this point where even that's not enough, that there is still something more. Most of us grow up in a place where it's not about what we want at all. It's about the expectation of others often. And I just kind of wonder if it's different for an entrepreneur because they have already asked that question once and now they're being forced to ask it again.
Yeah, maybe multiple times.
Right.
Eventually, what you have to learn is that the business will never give you all of the mores that you want. You'll have to build outside of it. And I don't mean that the business can't fund it, help you nurture it, help you become, but we all want more than just like if we only wanted success in business, every entrepreneur would just hunker down, but we don't. We want a good circle. We want a loving group of people around us that inspire us and support us and that we can support and feel mutuality in the relationship. We want experiences that move us and shift and shake us. And we want our health to be elevated. Like there's more to life than just a business.
The business essentially gives you it becomes the conduit or the instrument to get all the rest.
Yes. And that's really important because without that, you may not necessarily be able to fund or have the time or the freedom to do that, right?
Correct.
Like when I had to be in the office 9 to 5, I certainly couldn't go work in a foreign country or spend the week in another city and take strolls midday. Like that, you just couldn't do that. I had to be in the office.
We are in the office. We're in the office right now.
We're always in the office. That's the fun part of being an entrepreneur. We're always in an office. No matter where we are, that's the office. But I think that if you're only asking the question, like, what do I want in business, then you probably have run out of future because the only thing that you can see is like how the business continues to grow. You don't see how your life can grow. You don't see how these other parts really matter to you. And I'd say this, every time I've run out of future, to say differently, every time I've gotten to a place where I thought I had achieved what the goal was, I had to start asking a different question. So whatever that was, published a book. Okay. Like, well, now what? Hit a certain revenue. Now what? Hit a certain like fitness level. Now what? Like it always comes down to that question. But to your point, you do have to ask, what do you want? And I think that the hardest thing that I've ever had to face and square up to is that most of the things I said I wanted were not actually what I wanted. They were what I thought would get me to the place where I could then get what I wanted. It was like, I got to do this first. I got to get business here first, or I got to get my things in order before I can ever ask for that.
Do you have an example? Out of curiosity,
I was trying to think of one on the spot.
Even if it's not yours, maybe it's a client that you've spoken to recently.
I think a great example is like, I want to be more present. I've worked with dozens of people on this. I want to be more present. When I'm with family, I'm thinking about work. When I'm at work, I'm thinking about family. So we've had to work through this with a really good framework. And then I want to be more present structure, the future people imagine is like, well, the business has to double, triple, quadruple, quintuple, like name it, right? The only way I can be more present is if I complete all these like objectives. And then because you're off focusing on this thing, doubling, tripling, quintupling, you're definitely like, you're moving further away from being present. So if you imagine a future where like you're really good at being present and you can just be where your feet are, some of that might involve the business growing, but I actually think that more of it's going to be, are you installing barriers around you so that you can be?
Well, maybe it's the example. If you want it to be more present, practice presence. If you want to be more patient,
right,
practice patience. Like I don't know. You could change everything else. If you don't practice it, it's not going to happen. It just isn't. But also with the mindset that I'm not always going to be 100% fully present. You know this, I know this. but I could practice it. Those thoughts are, I mean, we talk about this in meditation all the time. The thoughts are going to come. It's what do you do with those thoughts when they do come while you're trying to be present with your son or someone else?
Yeah.
Can you just let those thoughts go? I think that's where the hang up is. It requires practice, and it requires a lifetime commitment to practicing presence or patience or whatever that may be.
Definitely. Another one that comes up often is I'll get in shape when I. So there's a health problem or a health inadequacy or a health challenge that might be fitness level. It might be weight. It might be physique and like the look that you have. And it's like, well, I'll do that once I create this business outcome or I'll achieve this milestone. And by that point, the habits have only further been embedded and you're not able to actually make it happen as easy because your health has gone down for the last 3 years, not up. All that is just a very interesting landscape. But I think what happens when you run out of future is you like circle. It's like, I don't know where to go, but I don't want to go home. So I'm just going to drive around the cul-de-sac in circles over and over and over. So nothing really changes and nothing's really bad in this place, but it's not great and it's not growing. And I find that even
it's
the
comfortable.
Idea, it's the illusionary comfortable, right?
Right.
We think that, but we're actually decaying. This place is basically, I don't have vision anymore. I can't see something that's bigger than this, that's more aligned than this, that's more fulfilling than this. I can't see it. And there's like a lack of vision that comes in this state that most people want to just skip over the discomfort of not having a vision and not work on a vision and just perpetuate whatever cycle they're in. And thus the swirl just never stops. And you kind of end up in your comfort zone. Now you have plateaued because you're not working on building the future.
What do you do with the person who is at least aware of that and yet feels like creating a new sense of vision is like I'm forcing it rather than allowing that vision to kind of flow through you where there's, I don't know, where you have a greater sense of possibility. What do you deal? I could accept, here's where I'm at. I don't have this vision, but every time I try to sit down and do something, it feels like I'm forcing it, which doesn't necessarily give you what it is you're looking for.
I'd say sign up for one of our coaching programs. The vision process, whether you do it with us or with someone else that really gets it, is like art. And I think that
which can't be forced.
Correct. Yet it has to be practiced. So if you talk with any good artist, if you talk with any musician, singer, songwriter, it doesn't matter. What they will tell you is that you practice the daily repetitions and then you find the gold in the middle of the repetitions, but you have to go through the repetitions. So when you're building a vision, right, if you run out of future and you don't have a vision, the more you evade sitting down and like writing or painting or journaling, the more you avoid that, the further away it gets. So there has to be a daily repetition. But then we look for the art in it. It's like a painting where you just add a layer every day. Can I go put a couple brushstrokes on the canvas every single day? And then you start to see the themes and the patterns. But there's this, there's an old, speaking of intoxicated, there's an old quote about writing. I think it was attributed to Mark Twain. He's like, write drunk, edit sober. There was sort of this play, right? And most of the artists historically that were really prolific were all drunks and addicts because they just found their way to uninhibited thoughts. But if you think about it, the idea of like write drunk, edit sober, what's really happening is you're writing without care. You're not attaching to the words. You're just writing.
Or without you're not inhibiting yourself from writing whatever comes out.
It's not the expectation of what it is. You're just writing. And then you go back to it and you kind of synthesize it and put it together. And where I think someone listening might be like, damn, like I have run out of future. Like I really don't have a big vision. I really don't have a bright thing to work all my energy towards anymore. I've gotten to a place of comfort and I've gotten to a place where I'm successful, but I'm no longer reaching. I think the risk is too high. That's the excuse we say. Then this is the way. You have to begin working on another vision, a compelling story, a narrative that you can put in your mind and then begin to make progress towards day by day. And you might not have anything magical come up, but if you put 100 words on paper, 100 days in a row, like something might get there. Our coaching programs accelerate that, but that's because we know how to ask questions and dig it out. I still think that it's a regular practice, right? It's like meditation. You got to do it every day.
Right. Do you want me to turn the camera and show them your artwork hanging on the wall?
Dun, 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 dun.
Could you imagine me doing that though? Because I'd have the camera all over the place.
It'd be spinning like we were intoxicated.
or you would feel intoxicated afterwards.
Yeah, to me, the reason I love to coach on this subject is because when you have a compelling vision, you have the capacity to change more than just your life. I believe that to my core. You have the capacity to change more than just your life. You can change your team. You can change your family. You can change your community. You can change so much for other people when you have a big vision. And we tend to celebrate big visions until they get to a place where like they make other people uncomfortable. That's the other piece.
Or like, well, that's them. I'm not that kind of person. I think that's
Yep.
I've said that myself as well. Well, I'm not Steve Jobs. I mean, I'm just not.
Yep.
But yeah, I think we have a tendency to kind of write it off.
Well, so it's relative, right? The type of vision, the magnitude of your vision is all relative to you. And I think that it doesn't need to mean that you're the visionary of the business. It could be a vision for your life, a vision for your relationship, a vision for your parenting, a vision for your travel. Like there's so many different things that you can have a vision for. We tend to operate in 4 corridors. We have career, circle, the people you're around, time, your experiences, and the way you use your minutes and days, and then health. So those are great corners to think about for where your vision goes. But everyone gets their own relativity. Like a 10x increase of the vision I had when I was 25 was very different than the vision that I might have today. So you just kind of keep scaling and growing and growing. But I think that having a compelling vision is like raising the limit on your life. And if you're stuck, you can read all the content that you want. You can take on all the information that you want, but eventually it's going to come back to like this vision, which it said differently is, do you know what you want? It is back to that question.
Yeah. And people have a hard time, myself included, have a hard time answering that question.
It's like The Notebook. I don't know if you've watched The Notebook.
Yes. It seems like forever ago though.
I think that movie's like 30 years old now, but
no. Come on.
If you're listening, you know exactly 30. What I'm about to say right now. Right? Ryan Gosling as Rachel McAdams' character, he's like,
that guy has better books, just for the record.
No one cares about the books, man. 2024. We watch the movies, that's it.
You just did a post today about reading books. I know. But books don't matter anymore. Really old book. That's right. The Inferno. We could do a whole podcast on the Inferno.
Dante's Inferno, yes. Well, so the question that is like prevailing in that scene where they're like in the rain is like Ryan Gosling just being like, "What do you want?" And she's like, "I don't know." And that has been turned into so many memes about like asking a woman what she wants to eat. Like it's been turned into 1,000 different memes about not being clear. But the question, and I think almost the energy in that scene.
I've never seen any of those memes, but
you haven't seen. Okay, well, we got to fix this. But like the energy in that scene
says way more about you than me at the moment. But keep going.
You're way behind on a movie that came out a long time ago, and memes have been out for 10 years. You're behind. I'm not behind. And like the energy of that scene though is really palpable, right? This guy is frustrated because he's trying to get something clear in front of him. Like he sees their future. He can see the way they fit together. He can see how their life becomes one. and she's just kind of on the fence with it. Like, yeah, I don't know. And he's getting frustrated. She's probably confused. Like it's a whole breakdown. And I think that actually happens more often than we talk about with entrepreneurs, where they stop seeing it and then they sound more like her. Like, what do you want? I don't know. I don't know anymore. Like, should I get more money? Do I build the business anymore? I don't know if I want that. And all of a sudden it starts to create this like circling effect where nothing else moves because you don't feel like you have a future to go into.
Is there a deeper question that goes beyond that? I would, and it's been a long time since I've seen that movie. I did not read the book. Where she doesn't necessarily feel worthy of what she wants, and so to even verbalize something like that becomes difficult because it runs much deeper.
I'm sure.
I'm speaking from my own experience here. I'm just projecting it onto her, but I wonder if there's something deeper that happens for some of us more than others.
When you run out of future, the reason is going to be multivaried. Maybe you don't feel like you are good enough to write a book, or you're worthy enough of, starting a big movement or a big mission. I think that's a whole other chapter of conversation. Ultimately, you still are disconnected from a future. You still don't have anything to look forward to. So you just perpetuate what you are currently doing. And if you're unable to get back to a place where you can say, all right, how do I get clear? How do I build a vision of a future? You are going to stay exactly where you are for as long as you remain in that cycle. I just think that the narrative around you're either clear, you're not clear, or you either know or you don't know, suggests that you either have this figured out or you never will. And if you're an entrepreneur in that limbo state, you can't stay there. It breaks my heart to watch someone that has worked incredibly hard to get to a certain place in life. They've built a good business. They've built a lifestyle they like. They have created something really meaningful. Most entrepreneurs don't last a year. Most businesses don't last a year. Very few last 5. And entrepreneurship is a great vehicle for impacting a lot of things. But when you get to that place, what I really care about is, what do you do then? If your business earns $7 million a year, you got a great income, you earn $500,000 a year, $600,000 a year. You have a great team, but like, you can't break that $7 million mark, and you're not living the kind of lifestyle that you could imagine beyond that, where it's no longer just working 60 hours a week and being consumed by that. Then, like, I feel for you. I feel for how frustrating that can be. Because then what did you quit the job in the first place for? You're just back in another job. So I think there's something really important about having a really compelling future that is bigger than just your business, that involves the impact, involves influencing in a positive way the people around you, that involves you being focused, and involves you being present. And when you start to map that out, you actually start to carve out like a new version of you, like another, let's say entrepreneur 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, you kind of carve out 4.0. And we all go through these like life cycles and death cycles where we have to become a new person. And that's what a vision should summon you to do.
I do think it's multi-layered. For some, I mean, I'm 52. Other people we work with who are midlife people, you can leave a job. That doesn't mean the job leaves you. That it takes time before you kind of let go of that corporate mindset, before you could before there is some kind of opening that allows you to begin to see differently. It's easier to leave a job in some sense. It's a lot harder for the job to leave you.
Yeah.
Because you've been conditioned in that lane.
I agree. I think that there are, I'll say it differently. My experience has taught me that the version of Aaron today can't be the version of Aaron tomorrow. And to do that, the only way to really make that transformation and walk that path is to have a clear vision, because the vision kind of dictates who I'm becoming. The vision helps me make sense of who does Aaron need to become. And then there's context to the discomfort that comes with change, right? If the vision I have has me working, let's say 30 hours a week, right? Build the business, grow the systems, and they're a powerful 30, but it's not 60 anymore. Well, that's an uncomfortable shift. It sounds exciting, but most of the entrepreneurs listening will also probably resonate with this. It actually isn't that exciting, because then what do you do with the other 30 hours that you just got back? Well, now you have to think about, wait a minute, what do I actually do? What do I feel excited about doing? Because we make our business our whole lifestyle in some ways. Well, what would I want to pursue? How do I rebuild the relationships I've been neglecting? How do I build hobbies and activities that are fulfilling and satisfying, that aren't just, me wasting time? You have to answer some deep questions, but now that vision allows you to say, I work 30 hours a week, and here's where I go with my time. Here's the things I want to learn. I want to study for my black belt in jiu-jitsu. I want to learn another language. I want to, travel once a month and do some deep reflecting. I want to pick up my kids and spend the evening like trying a new recipe with them all the time. Whatever it may be, like that's where the vision is.
I mean, it's still leaving behind you may have already said it, that there is a death that's going on. So the entrepreneur, just like the person leaving corporate work, you can leave, but that version of them, they have to be able to leave that version in order to move on to the next vision as well.
For sure. Hands down. And I would say that when you're in the plateau of like, I don't know what's next, I'm not clear on what's ahead of me, you are, the only thing you're doing is you're delaying the death of the identity that you have now.
Yeah, you're holding on to it.
I don't want to go through this. I don't want to change. I don't want to evolve.
I still think one of the good questions is, when you're at that point, what would you regret 10 years down the road if you didn't do it? Like that, if you don't know, if you feel stuck and you don't know where to go and what that looks like, and you're standing in the pouring rain saying, I don't know what I want. Start with the regret. Like, what would you regret if you didn't do it, and work your way back from there? I know that was the question that was a catapult for me.
In the workshop that we did in Prescott, so smaller group, really intimate. One of the stories, or one of the shares, when we got to the playing big part of our focus exercise, it was a workshop on focus. There are 4 areas that we spend time in. And in playing big, which is basically all about vision, if you want our focus exercise, go to Instagram, type my name in, Aaron Velky, and send me either your email or just send me the word focus, and I will get you our exercise and the tutorial. But the bottom right quadrant of this exercise is all about playing big, which is almost the same as what's your vision. And he mentions that he is afraid of saying what his thing is, what his playing big is. So we kind of coach him through it. There's other people in the room just listening to him. But it comes up that he wants to build a ranch. And on the ranch, he wants to host programs and recoveries and like be really intentional classes and lessons and like gardening and just so many really cool. And like he lit up sharing this story. I probably didn't do any of it justice right there.
I want to build a ranch.
I want to build a ranch.
Well, what was the fear? Why didn't he want to? Because I think that's where people are going to relate. Like,
he'd never done it before. So we had to talk about, and this is what we do in the focus workshops that we run. We had to talk about all the different fears and how you move into that space. And you're not going to snap your fingers and it be done. It's going to be like any other project you take on. It's going to take time and investment and all that. But we talked about going bit by bit. Like, where can you start today? How can you take the first step on that? And what is fascinating is like he could see it, but had let fear stop the process. So when we hit the wall of like, I'm afraid, or this looks totally different than what I ever imagined, or I don't even know how to build this. And if you build a compelling vision, probably all of it's going to feel that way. I have no idea how this is going to happen. I don't even know how to do this.
There's also something fearful about just stating it, because you state it into existence at that point. And
that's right.
That's, yeah.
You speak it into existence in a way.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when you say something like that, Now, if it's not incredibly clear, now you got to go back day by day and add a little bit of color to it. Okay, what's on the ranch? Where is the ranch? What's it look like? And you can kind of start going down this pathway where all of a sudden, when you work on it, it doesn't become as scary. Like it almost gets more fun because it just becomes this painting that you have. Like you don't need to do any of the work except for outlining it. But I think we often avoid that because we're afraid of what happens if I never bring it to light. And look, if it never happens, it never happens. But let's not run around with our heads cut off before we work on our vision.
Yeah, whether it happens is one thing. That's the regret question as well.
Yeah.
Like, am I going to regret not pursuing that by not doing anything? Just stating it at least starts to bring it into existence. But I do think there's a question of regret there. Will I regret not at least pursuing it in some way?
I have more regrets that are things I never did than I have regrets of things I did.
Yeah. I would say that's most people. Because you've already lived through the ones you might regret that you have done.
Mm-hmm.
And you're on the other side of them.
Yeah, there's just to connect back to this idea of like running out of future. If you're listening right now and you're sitting there and you're like, okay, things are working, they're going fine, everything's cool, like I just want to stay on this track, then you might have a different problem. You might have the problem of, I actually don't want to stretch. I don't want to get uncomfortable again. I worked really hard to build this and I don't want to change it already. We got to work on your stretch and your growth and your 10xing. On the other side of the fence though, if you're like, man, I need a big vision and I just feel like it hasn't hit me yet. Like, well, don't I have enough? Like, aren't I good? Like, I'm pretty settled. Like, why would I ask for more? And this comes up a lot in coaching because many of our clients are, in many ways, they've checked the box for success already. They just don't have a clear vision, don't have a clear sense of what they want. But this particular case is often interesting because we make ourselves feel small and shameful and guilty for being successful. And then what happens is we stop building a future that creates more, even though more doesn't have to be in the straight perpendicular line of like, we'll just grow your business. It could be, there's so many other ways that you can build this thing. And if you're there where you're like, I think I have enough, like I don't need a big vision. And you're asking yourself, like, why would I go for more? It has more to do with, like, what would you do with more than why go after it? Like, I think we should all be pursuing more in some capacities. What is the more that you want?
I do want to throw one caveat in just to, I think we have a tendency to demonize comfortable. And I don't think it's always a demon, because I think we also have a hard time just being okay with where we are at this moment. It could change tomorrow, it could change the next day, whatever. That comfort is not always bad until we make it who we are, right? It becomes part of we're just comfortable where we are. I think I just want to throw that caveat in there that it's not always a bad thing. Can you accept where you are? Because we do this on retreat, so I can't really figure out where I'm going until I also accept where I'm at this moment, wherever that may be. So I just want to throw that caveat in there.
Well, I would qualify that by saying part of what we're trying to build into the vision is a level of comfort. You can stretch for more and be comfortable. Correct. I don't think they're mutually exclusive.
Correct. Well, I because we have a tendency to demonize it. That's all I'm saying.
I agree with that. The way that I harmonize them both together is to say, I want to paint a picture in the future where I feel a certain way. I feel stable. I feel trust. I feel love. I feel like I can go slow. And this is the more that I'm pursuing. And that might mean the business goes from like super bonkers growth and expansion to a little bit less and slows down a little bit. I just think that what personal development has made of the word comfort is a bad thing, to your point. Mm-hmm. And you can do both. You can still grow and experience comfort.
And be comfortable with change.
Yeah. Oh, dude, there's so much bullshit rhetoric around this is like the hustle culture that we live in, right? Like just more time. Like some of our clients, the more that they want is like more slow Mondays, more slow mornings. Like, great. Mm-hmm. Well, let's enjoy that comfort. Well, let's also look at the other mores that you want. Well, I want to do more travel where I get to slow down. Great. Well, can you be comfortable there? Can you actually slow down? That might be something that you need to work on in your vision to experience comfort. So it can be a multifaceted problem, but I generally agree with the danger of not being able to experience comfort.
I don't remember what your prior point was, but I wanted to throw that in there. Just because it is so, it's always in the personal development world. Don't be comfortable.
Yeah. Yeah, it might be good to fragment that word out, right? I think in some sense, what that is really about, and this goes back to running out of future, is keep growing, keep stretching. That part is really good.
Yeah.
And so is stability, and so is security, and so is a sense of presence. The danger, and I think what that general opinion is all about, is don't stop learning, don't stop growing, don't stop the exploration of more to you. And it is very easy to make comfort a bad thing, and all of a sudden, anytime you get to safety, you question it.
Right. Or you'll find yourself constantly running. If I don't, and more often than not, you're probably running from something rather than to something.
Yeah. There's a version of me in the future that I can see. There's a vision that I can see of who Aaron is. And as I outline that and write that out and go back and edit and add layers and paint brushstroke over brushstroke, the version of me that I start to see is like magnitudes different than me today. Different habits, different styles, different communication patterns, but really most of that is an internal change. It's not creating chaos because I feel safe.
Here's a personal question, just to kind of take it out of the head. What's the world you vision for Emerson, for your son in the next couple of years?
Stable, calm, loving. That's it. But that's where I start to see me, because his world can't be like that unless I'm like that. So it like, just by saying those three words, stable, calm, loving, well, now I have a future to build towards. I have a set of patterns, a set of ways of showing up, a set of identities, a whole lot of different things. And that's just one very fast answer. But
especially knowing that the world gets more and more chaotic, which is the world he's growing up in. And so you almost have to counterbalance what he will be in.
For sure. And any business owner, your world is only going to get more complex. That doesn't mean that you can't build accordingly and structure things and create boundaries and, hire teams and build the org so that doesn't all land on you. But it is going to get more complicated. That's just how business grows.
Right. Until it simplifies.
Yeah. Until you do the work to simplify, and you might only simplify it for you, but I think there's just a vision that helps people find what it is they're looking for within themselves. And if I know that these things are how I want to show up, then I can also have context as to how these other spaces in my life, these other like relationships and health and fitness starts to be a part of that too.
Yeah. Because you don't, if you want to show up that way to Emerson and create that world for him, you also can't have people in your life who are counterproductive to that.
Right.
Otherwise, we kind of grow up confused about what is. And so you have to be mindful of even the people that are around you who also exemplify those kind of qualities.
For sure. And stable, calm, and loving means way bigger than just with him. It means, is my health stable? Do I pursue like big goals with health? Yeah. Also, can I find ways to be loving, right? To take care of myself. It means like I got to prioritize my health potentially differently than I have in the past. Can I love myself? It's a good thing to model for him. I think on the relationship side, it means my circle, my friends, my family, any kind of influence has to be those three things. Kind of gives me criteria for how to build the family unit, the extended family unit, if you will. It also has context to business, right? How do I build something that allows us to grow and expand and do all that without it always feeling like chaos and always feeling like it's 1,000 miles an hour? And then to the bottom, the experiences, like how can I have fun experiences that don't feel like chaos and I'm constantly subjecting myself to that? So just with those three words, we almost have like an anchoring and a set of themes to say, okay, well then how do I exist in this particular life category related to those three words?
I mean, chaos becomes your middle name rather than your first name because I think it's always going to be there.
Maybe.
That's part of the creative process, though. Too that there's always chaos in it.
Yes, and I believe that you can experience chaos without being destabilized.
Right.
That to me is also mastery of the creative process, right? When you can experience chaos and not let it be super disruptive.
Yeah.
But here's the point that I want to make. When you start to build out that vision and that future, it should create new context to the decisions that you're making. That's the whole point of building a vision, is that it creates new context. So I might be given an option or presented with a choice. And if I just do it, I go about the choice the same way I've always done it, I'm never going to get to that vision. What the vision allows me to do is to think about that choice differently. So there might be an option, I don't know. Let's say someone comes along and says, hey, would you like to, I don't know, move to Brazil for 15 days and put on a workshop where a bunch of entrepreneurs are in this big room and you just lead a workshop for a whole bunch of days. Like, well, that might be a currently comfortable thing to say yes to. But then I have to ask the question of, does this fit in the vision? Does it help me move towards the vision? And if it disrupts all my stability and disrupts all my sense of calm, then maybe it doesn't fit anymore. And when you build a vision, when you run out of future, you say yes. When you have a vision, you say no. You just get really good at, like, this doesn't fit up there. I'm not going to do it anymore.
Yeah. Which seems small, but that's a big pivot.
Soft yeses
from yes to no. Yeah.
Soft yeses are killer.
Yeah.
I think that's another symptom of not having a big vision is soft yeses. Too many yeses. Like, I don't know what to do, or I just keep saying yes all the time. Shiny objects get really attractive when you don't have a big vision. You get kind of distractible when you don't have a big vision. And it's very hard to focus because there's nothing to focus on.
Yeah. So you're focusing on well, you're not focusing, but you're focusing on everything.
Right. Yeah. It's like I'll make everything a priority.
Yeah.
And by doing that, you make nothing a priority.
Yeah.
I can think of a couple of times where I've run out of future, and I just remember feeling pretty lost. Like, what do I do? And what's interesting is each of those moments, because some of them have happened fairly recently, at least into my from my mid-20s to mid-30s. That window of time, I had to rebuild a vision multiple times, and the sequence was basically like panic, and then acceptance, and then vision. And I think we tend to meet a lot of entrepreneurs. It's not like panic, like you're running around making a bunch of noise. It's actually the opposite for entrepreneurs. It's soft, solemn, quiet panic. Like, you don't tell anybody. You don't tell your spouse. You don't tell your business team. You don't tell your friends. You're just freaking out that you have no idea what to do, and you have no idea who to turn to even ask for help about what to do.
It's where the scarcity mindset creeps in.
Big time. Yep. Scarcity, lack, fear, all of that. Like, your mind's just starting to like crumble on itself and like compact. And because you don't talk about it, you can't get it out. So a vision gets like further and further. It's almost like turning your back to a vision. And
it also magnifies all the rest. It magnifies the lack and the scarcity. And
yeah, super well said. Well, because you can only turn to one, right? You turn to abundance, your vision, or you turn to scarcity. The more you turn towards one, the less you get to the other.
Yeah.
The thing that I hope you're listening and tracking here is that if you're in this place where you don't have vision and you don't know what to do and you aren't talking about it, this is when you bring a coach on. A lot of people say, well, I'll bring a coach on when I had the vision. And I'm like, no. You're just going to swirl there for longer. Bring us on now. Let's help you get clear on the vision and then help you go. But if you keep on swirling and cycling, your scarcity, your fear, your pain is only going to go higher.
Yeah. I'm just thinking about when I hired you as a coach many moons ago. It was swirling. It was scary. It was, I don't know what the heck I'm going to do with my life. I mean, there was a lot of stuff going on at that moment where it felt so small. And I at least recognized that I knew I couldn't do it by myself. It was the one time I did need help in some ways, whatever that was. And it's not always easy to admit that, but I definitely knew at that point that I needed help because I just couldn't see anything at that point.
What confrontation did you have to do in your head to make an investment in you, to make a leap of faith into someone else, in this case me, but you had to jump knowing that there wasn't really any, I mean, I've done this with many times and I have done it many times more, but there's still not proof that it works for you, right? That's the lie you tell yourself anyway.
Correct. I certainly felt desperate in that moment that I knew I needed help. At the same time, I felt like we had really connected. But I mean, I've told this story many times as well. Like one of those first weeks that I started working with you as a coach, it was facing the unknown. Like I was the guy who studied theology for years and years and years, and yet couldn't say what my relationship with the unknown was. And it all felt unknown at that point. So if anything, it was fearful of the unknown. And being able to become comfortable with the unknown, I think, has been a huge part of it.
It always is. A vision is going to be the unknown for a long time.
Yeah.
And I'd say that most entrepreneurs, they're actually comfortable with that process, like a vision and building, because they've done it once, right? They've just eclipsed what they thought was possible. So they can do it again. They just don't know what to do when they don't have a vision. Because usually that first vision is really awesome and really exciting.
Right.
And then when you get to the other side of it and you hit the plateau again, then it's like, well, shit, this place, I've never been here. Yeah. Well, if you're at this place, if you're at this junction where things feel small and scarce and tight, and you're circling, your pain is magnified by your own inability to speak about it. If you are fearful of what happens if you don't figure this out, quote unquote, or afraid to really raise your hand and say, hey, I actually don't have a vision and I don't even know who to go to for that. There are not many coaches that can help you with this. I believe that. And the reason is you would have to have some kind of experience doing that over and over and over and building a framework for it. This is what I've done. And Marty and I put together this great vision document and exercise and then coach you through it. The reason I think that few can actually coach you through that is the process of building a vision is not like building a business. It is an art more than it is a science. And if you just go to like a business coach, they're going to talk to you about like raising your revenue and raising your profit. That's not a vision. That's just progress. Then if you go to like a life coach,
and they're going to make it worse.
Probably. Oh man, I've been there 1,000 times. Then on the side of like, well, let me go find a life coach or let me go find someone that can help me on that side. They can only help you to the extent that you have a vision, because they're going to ask you what you want and they're going to ask you what matters and then help you get it. Somewhere in the middle of that is going to exist this vision. And if you're struggling with that, please jump on Instagram, send me a note, just put vision in a DM and I'll make some time for you, or we'll send you our vision framework. It's the same one we use with our 5 and 6 figure ticket clients. Like, I mean, this is like people invest a lot into coaching because they know it makes that kind of change. So I'll give you the same framework, same tool. If you need the one on focus, we can give you that too. But these things are really important to figure out. And if you're struggling and you don't want to take us up on totally free resources, and you don't, there's not even strings attached to it. Like I'll send you the email.
I could hear that from downstairs. You were really loud.
If you don't want help, free help, holy shit, God Almighty, I don't know what else we can do for you, because at some point you're going to have to recognize that you're in the way. So get out of your own way, send me a note. Let's get you moving. If you don't want a coaching program, you're not ready for that, cool, that's fine. We're not here to just help you if you coach with us. You are welcome to the tools. You're welcome to the help. You're welcome to the community, the tribe that we're building. And we just want to help you get to a place where you are not suffering in silence anymore. There's a process we built to building a vision that will help you if you are running out of future, if you're running out of something that you're excited about. We got you. That's what we're here for, to help you get out of your own way.
I have one other thought. That if you're shopping around for a coach, which many people do, even people that encounter us, if you're at a point where you're deciding on someone, if that person doesn't challenge that vision in some ways, even if it is big enough, that person should at least be testing it in some ways. If they're not pushing you to see even bigger, hang up the phone and come back to us.
Nice. Yeah, we're compassionate ass kickers in a way when it comes to that. Yeah, I'll leave you with this. Vision and the idea of a future is one of the most critical elements to every part of your life. And I know that you may have focused on business for the last several years, maybe decades, but your vision needs to be bigger than that. It can't, your whole vision cannot be swallowed by an entrepreneurial endeavor. You can ask me how I know this.
How do you know, Aaron?
That's another podcast. You weren't supposed to ask me that right now.
Oh, sorry.
You
always say that, but no one ever takes you up on it.
No one ever takes me up on it, because it kind of implies it's like a really long story. But anyway, if like a vision will move you, it will move everyone around you. It creates space for so much more than you even know. And if you're running out of future, I want you to at least consider that that's the first place to start, not the last. It's the first objective of change, not the one to relegate and delegate out. You're going to want to do everything else under the sun. You're going to want to read. You're going to want to like learn and get information and try to solve this puzzle as if it's like a science project. It is not a science project. It is an absolutely creative endeavor that goes down to who you are as a person and brings up everything about you that you probably have to confront. And that work is some of the most meaningful work you can ever do to build a vision that's big.
I'm just thinking of Austin with that episode came out a few weeks ago. How many times did you put in their programming? This is a creative exercise. This is a creative exercise.
Yeah, we had like big block letters. This is a creative exercise. Yeah, I think I love the idea of a creative exercise, but I know for most people that label often makes it harder.
Because that's the part that's cut off from early on in life.
That's right. And entrepreneurs are artists. The world does not tell you that. An entrepreneur is an artist. So we want you to build and paint and craft and carve and design and structure a beautiful life. And we're here to help you do that. So if you need help, jump in online on Instagram at Aaron Velky. You can find us on any platform, TikTok, Facebook. Like just send me a note. It's me that reads them. We will get you the focus exercise or the vision exercise with a tutorial of how to use it.
Or at Marty Nocchi, because someone might be listening that is a fan of mine out there. Who knows?
So that's Marty, Marty, Nocchi, Nocchi, Nocchi.
Not Marti.
Not Marti. That Starbucks barista on blast. All right. Thank you for being here. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're watching us live. That always makes us happy. If you haven't, just jump into any of the resources that we have on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify. Give us a follow, leave us 5 stars, leave a review. That would mean the most to us. And then follow us on social platforms where you can get more insights, tips, wisdom, tools, frameworks to help you grow your business, your personal life, and help you transform into the superhero that we know you're capable of being. Remember to get out of your own way. Marty, thanks for being here, and thank you for tuning in.